Hey guys, we're back with another episode of the Behind the Game podcast powered by Triton. We're here once again with Tyler Courson, owner of Next Level Academy and the Triton Rays. Tyler, how's it going today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me again.
Great. Another show, a new setup.
Yeah.
Just to keep everybody guessing.
I like it, though.
So today we're going to talk about recruiting.
Yep.
Okay, so according to the Perfect Game database, just since 2014, 549 college commitments, 55 drafted players. So we're not even really 8 years into that. That's a high number.
Yeah.
So let's just start there. What do you attribute that to?
Teams winning, good players wanting to play together. The more good players that play together, the easier it is to get college coaches out there. So I think that was big. But also having multiple teams in older age groups, I think allows you to be able to get more guys into college and maybe reaching out about one guy kind of leads them to another guy. So, I think having multiple teams and having multiple guys out there, marketing these guys is, how we were able to get that, done so quickly.
Right. What's your role as the owner? What's your role in trying to get these guys exposed? And, are you talking to coaches, college coaches, regularly? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty consistent thing, because our numbers are high with a lot of players. There's a lot of communication. So, that does make it easier. But, the guys that are really good, the high-level guys, they're getting recruited themselves. My job with those guys is to just really guide them for the best fit for them, based on academics, athletic ability, scholarship offers. Those high-level guys, they're going to get signed either way. It's a matter of me kind of just helping guide them, maybe based on their personality and the coach's, personality. I kind of guide them, because we have had a lot of guys go to each place. You see a guy, get to know him a little bit, get to know his family. You'll know, hey, he probably couldn't play for this guy, but he can play for this guy. So high-level guys take care of himself. It's the guys that are middle of the road that you really have to, get out there for. Those are the ones that I'm having to send out more video, more text, posting them maybe a little more on social media, just to kind of get them over the hump. So I think my biggest role, with the guys that are going to get signed is just guiding them in the right direction, and the guys that are on the verge that might not have a plus tool, really just marketing them to the right places that have needs, or can fit that guy as far as, getting him a spot to play.
Right. Like you talk about social media. I go back to when I was going through that whole process coming out of high school. I remember the first time I was in one of the coaches' offices at Troy, and then everything was just like DVD. So he had a stack of DVDs, and a lot of them had custom labels that had the player's picture on it, their name, where they were from, and all that. It's just a stack high. So I imagine that's gotten a little bit easier for them. I'm sure you're not sending out DVDs to anybody.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Chris there, not showing your age, but yeah, it's a lot easier now. Pretty much your phone. Court a guy hitting in that moment, send it to the coach right then. I mean, It's pretty instant feedback. So it does make it a lot easier to be recruited now than before. As long as you have the right person working for you, there's a million schools out there to play at.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that need good students, good people, guys that are going to show up every day. It's not just about having the most talent. It's about being able to count on a guy. And I think that's where we're able to kind of get some guys over the hump to be able to communicate that side of it, I think is big.
Yeah. I imagine there has to be a fine line, though, in like bothering a coach, constantly communicating with them. Because, if you are talking to a coach too much, they're probably, not going to take your messages clearly or, seriously. Right. Is there a fine line you try to straddle?
To be honest, a lot of times they feel like they're bothering me. Because they know that I'm the one getting all the calls. It's so many coaches. So a lot of it is them, texting me, messaging us through social media, calling me, emailing, trying to get information for a player, about a player. I don't have to reach out as much just because they know, hey, if they need a shortstop or a center fielder, these coaches have contacts where they have pockets of guys that they reach out to, guys that they know are going to give them honest feedback, good feedback, be able to give them information quickly as far as GPA, ACTs, information about the family, the kids. So, I think it's one of those things where because we've done it for so long, I don't really have to reach out as much. If I have a kid, that really wants to go somewhere, and that coach hasn't seen him yet, yeah, I'm going to contact that school, see if they have a need. But, it's one of those things where a lot of it's just sometimes just calling a coach, check in, say what's up, and, talk a little bit and go from there.
What times do college coaches call you? I mean, is there like a specific time you see, or is it just all times of the week? That might be a dumb question, but I'm genuinely curious.
Each college coach has a routine. And so I get certain coaches that are calling me kind of earlier in the morning, guys that are calling me, later at night, kind of varies. Not many calls between really, I'd say 1 and 5 o'clock. I think maybe that's practice time. In the season, you don't get as many calls as, when they're playing. It's usually morning stuff. But morning night is really when I'm getting most of the calls from the coaches. It's just the easiest time for them to be able to sit down and communicate and, find out a little bit about a player. Like with social media now, Perfect Game, PBR, all the different organizations that have all the metrics on guys, all the numbers, they know how hard you can throw. They know what you run. They want to get that more of the personal information, a little bit deeper into it. And that's where we're able to kind of, give them good feedback.
Do you see more coaches at specific events, like Perfect Game, for instance? Do you see more coaches there than at another, let's say, another tournament that you go to every year? Or are they pretty spread out and consistent, or are you going to specific tournaments knowing there's always college coaches there specifically to expose your players?
I think it's one of those things. Recruiting has changed a lot because of COVID. I used to say, we went to certain tournaments just because there were so many coaches there. Now that these coaches had to become more of virtual, technical, figuring out how to use social media, how to use phones. Even the older guys have really kind of figured that out. So as far as going to certain tournaments for coaches, that happens, but we really go to certain areas. And when we go to those areas, we'll shoot a mass text out to the coach saying, hey, we're playing in Birmingham, or we're playing in Panama City, kind of the coaches within the 2-3 hour radius, JUCOs, NAIs, whatever it is, just let them know our schedule. And a lot of times those guys show up. So wherever we go, we're making sure we want to communicate where we're going so those guys do come out. So
you're actively sending out your schedules to coaches.
Yeah,
that's
just
a
keeping
really
them
good
in
point
the
to
loop,
highlight.
letting them know, putting it on social media. That alone, they'll check it out, follow it, reach out to us, ask when certain guys are pitching, playing. So I think that side of it is, we can kind of go, not necessarily go anywhere we want, but we can go anywhere that's a decent sized city and attract some coaches to our games just because of the caliber of players we have.
So these coaches they're traveling everywhere.
Yeah, I think these guys now, certain budgets, depending on the level you're at college-wise, you got to stay a little more local. But there's a lot of coaches that the bigger SEC, ACC, all that, they are traveling throughout the country to see different guys just to get the best players in the country. There's some coaches that literally don't go out at all. There's a lot of coaches I know now that can sit on the phone and get pretty much everybody they need, other than having them on maybe an official visit just to get a face-to-face and get a feel for the kid. You can do almost everything virtually. And my mind's a little crazy, but hey, it is what it is. You get all the data you need, and if the person's a good dude and it matches up, then that's what a lot of guys have been doing. So
you see a different approach by coaches at different levels?
100%.
Really?
It's one of those things where each guy kind of has their own way of doing it as far as recruiting guys. And if there's a guy that I know likes to see him in person, then, we're making sure that guy gets a schedule. If it's a guy that just needs video and needs confirmation that the kid can play and they're good people, then, that's what we do. So we kind of have an idea of each guy and, what they would need from us, as far as looking at players.
Right. How many showcases do you host yourself on a yearly basis at your facility?
Yeah, usually 2. We used to have around 4 or 5. Just now we have pretty much 2 bigger ones. We do open it to the public, but it's a lot of invite stuff. We average about 20 coaches at each showcase. So, if you show up to the showcase, there might be a D1 guy all the way down to D3 up to NEI, whatever it is. And, I think it gives you a good idea of where you stack up when those coaches kind of call you later on. It gives you a good idea of where you might want to start searching, at least at what level. Even if it's not one of the schools that are there, if you're getting contact from mostly junior college coaches, then you probably want to search out more junior colleges, So
Right.
I think it's good to see where you stack up at showcases, as long as it's not super expensive. Anything under really $200 now is almost a deal. It's crazy, but they get up to $600-700. Could be worth it in my mind. If you have the right tools to go out and showcase $600 worth, then do it. But I think showcases can sometimes hurt you more than help you. So I think that's where the travel coaches or the high school coaches really get involved in saying, hey, you don't quite have a plus tool yet. I wouldn't necessarily jump into a showcase, put together some game film, send that out. If you do have a plus tool, then start maybe jumping into some showcases, show those tools, and showcases are just different for everybody.
Right. So, are your showcases just for next level players and Triton raised players, or do you open that up?
We do open it up. I mean, it's majority of our guys. If there's 100 kids there, I'd say 60 to 70 of them are going to be guys in our organization. The other ones will be guys that either we invited in or saw it listed online, asked if they could come, they attend. So I don't, want to push people away, but also want to make sure that these coaches that show up, it's worth their time. If there's 100 kids, they don't want to just see 3 or 4 good players. Or if there's 100 kids, they want to see at least 50, 60, 70 quality players that they can, communicate with.
Yeah, so that's something you got to consider then.
Yeah, so it makes it easier when we do put on a showcase, because they do know, the coaches, that there's going to be quality players that show up, good arms, good catchers, and it's worth their time to come in and see what's out there.
Because you want them coming back, obviously.
100.
Next year.
No doubt.
Yeah. So your communication with coaches, advertising, your own showcases. I mean, are you just blanket communicating to every coach your showcase?
We want to open it up to everybody. At any level. There's lots of quality coaches out there, and there's a lot of guys that go from one level to another. So we open it up to everybody. We've had coaches from all over the U.S. show up. So it's one of those deals where we want to get as many guys on site to see our guys as possible, and also help build those connections. Even if they come to one, they can't come the next year, we're still able to, communicate with those guys. And just at our showcases alone, us getting the video and posting it on our social media stuff, even if a coach isn't at our place, they're going to see those videos on social media. So you might see 20 coaches in person, but there's 300 or 400 guys that are watching that video when we post.
So you've got video going
always
that whole time.
No,
so I think that's something very, very important.
It's not videoed; it didn't happen. Remember
that. so that's important though.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to expose guys, take video, post it everywhere.
The more you have, the better.
Yeah.
As long as they're good, at least.
Right. Well, right. So with that said, we're talking about, different levels, Division I all the way down to Division III. And then you got your guys that they're looking to get drafted, all that.
I think the most important thing to start out with is understand the scholarships and how they work. So you look at Division I, they have 11.7 scholarships.
Which is a travesty.
Crazy, but it is what it is. It's 11.7 for 30 guys. So D2 is 9, D3 is, different things. NAI, I think, can do up to 12. Junior colleges kind of vary. Alabama is at least tuition, books, and fees, room and board. Florida, you can do room and board. So from state to state, it kind of varies. There's some junior colleges in each state that don't give baseball scholarships. We have guys in Alabama that like some junior colleges in Mississippi, but Mississippi can only give 4 out-of-state scholarships. So each level is so crazy. I think one thing to consider on top of the scholarship money is, your financial situation. If you don't throw 95 or you're just not a freak, you're probably not going to get a full scholarship to Division I.
Those rarely happen.
It's very rare, So, and if you are getting a full scholarship, there's a good chance you're getting drafted. So, a lot of guys do end up starting out going JUCO. You're going to get school paid for. Depending on what state, free room and board, meals. It's kind of a win-win. You're able to mature a little bit, play early. So, I think each kid is different. There's guys that have really good ACT scores that can go play Division I baseball for free just because of grades. So there's a lot of factors that go into, when it becomes, recruiting.
Well, that's one thing that's so overlooked. Everybody wants to play at a high level as possible, but you're going to get more money if you do go the JUCO route.
Oh, yeah.
And it's good chance you're going to play more.
No doubt.
Earlier on.
Yes.
Because like you said, 11.7, just going back to my days, I certainly didn't get near that, but I had a very close friend of mine who got what equated to a 95% scholarship to a Division I school here in the state,
right.
And that made his decision for him. It really wasn't his number
Money
one.
talks.
It really wasn't his number one school, but when they come with an offer like that, you start looking at life after college.
Yeah,
that's a lot less debt.
Right, but that's what's so cool about college baseball, and not dissing other college sports, but you look at Division I football compared to junior college football. That's a night and day difference. You look at Division I basketball compared to JUCO basketball. That's a night and day difference. You look at Division I baseball and junior college baseball. It's very similar in a lot of places. Your brother played for us, Drew. He went to Chipola. 95 mile an hour, 97. I mean, the dude has a laser for an arm, and he went to a junior college, got everything paid for. But a lot of guys do that just because you can get drafted each year at a junior college. Division I, until you turn 21, you have to wait until your junior year. So if you're a guy who could get drafted, maybe you need one more year. JUCO is sometimes the best way,
right?
So you can go get the money after that.
Well, it just goes back to development.
Yes.
His main reason for going JUCO was just innings.
Yeah,
and
pitch
of course, Chipola is one of the top programs in the country. That doesn't hurt either, but
right.
But just going there just to get more innings.
Yes,
because he did go to Auburn in the middle of that, which is a great program, but there's a lot more dogs.
Yeah, everybody throws 95
everybody's throwing heat, but he didn't get a whole lot of innings, and it wasn't anything wrong with that. It was just hey, they're going to do what's best to win games, but
yes,
go back to Chipola, throw your innings, get drafted, and then you're off to the races.
That's what's so cool about college baseball compared to the the other college sports is really even any high schools. You look at Faulkner and Lewis Clark, Idaho, Georgia Gwinnett. There's a lot of schools out there, Southeastern, that can compete at a Division I level. So college baseball is very cool. I think there's a place for almost everybody that wants to play. If you're willing to work, you're a good student, willing to put in the time. You do got to have talent, but there's so many schools out there that want good people and good students that they will take a guy that might not have as much talent just because they know they're going to be able to count on that guy, every day.
Right. And they will find every possible scholarship you can get that's not related to athletics.
Oh, yeah.
They will help. If they want you on a team, they're going to find scholarships for you.
They're going to figure it out.
Everything. They're going to do everything they can to get as much money. Because it goes back to 11.7. That's a whole discussion for a different day, just how insane that is.
Yeah.
And, what the third assistant coach still isn't a paid position yet, which is, yeah. But so we're talking about players specifically. A lot of kids, they want to go D1, right? How do you communicate with a player who's dead set on Division I, who's probably not a Division I guy, probably not getting looks from? How do you best communicate? Because in a delicate situation like that.
I'm not good at that. I'm pretty brutally honest.
Yeah. Well, especially with the parents too.
And that's something that's tough. But I explain to them, the better you do, the higher level you go to, it looks good on me too. So I'm going to try to get you to the highest level possible that I know you can compete at and you have a chance to play at. And if that's junior college, then I'm going to bust my butt to make sure I get you to a junior college. If it's D1, I'm going to get you there if I can do that. But at the end of the day, you got to accept reality. And I think once you put them on a team that has a bunch of players, that there are 4 or 5 D1 guys, 4 or 5 D2, a couple junior colleges, you kind of look at it and you're able to tell where your kid plays out. So I'm pretty brutally honest. I make it clear to these parents, I can't do my job if you don't accept reality. And there's been times where I've had kids, hey, right now there's no way you can play Division I. And they come back a year later, 20 pounds stronger, running faster, throwing harder. And I'm saying, okay, now you can play D1. So I keep it very real, but I also keep it real in a way that they understand that I want what's best for them. And if you do what's best for each kid, because we have that history and parents have communicated that, trickling down effect, I think people are more receptive when I kind of tell them, hey, this is where you're at and this is where we need to focus.
Right. But it's like, are there any, what types of things do you do for your guys, especially the academy guys that they're living on site, they're eating, living, breathing, baseball when they're not doing study? How do you help? What do you guys do to help build them up to try to improve their stock?
The academy is a different animal than just a travel ball or something like that. That is, like you said, you wake up, you work out, you go to class, you go get your individual work in, you have team practice, you have a study hall, you have curfew, you do it again. So it's a different animal. It's a full year thing. So for us, I think what we prepare our guys the most for is just the grind of college baseball or minor league baseball. Knowing how to structure your day, what to eat, how to work out in season, out of season, how to take care of your body, mentally, how to get over certain things when you're struggling or you're going, doing well. So I think the side of it, baseball takes care of itself because we practice every day. I think the biggest thing for us is teaching guys just how to go about their business on a daily basis and knowing how to take care of their body, which I think is probably the best thing you can do because your body's worth money. We talked about your brother and getting drafted. He got drafted, and if he takes care of his body, he's going to continue to be able to play. If he doesn't do his job and take care of himself every day, then he's going to fall off very quickly. And so I think as young players, when you first go to college or get drafted, you don't quite understand that yet. And I think that's where we're able to kind of just get guys, over the hump early.
Well, speaking of Drew, he when he got to college, he's taking his diet somewhat seriously, but he really started to take his diet seriously once he was, okay, this is my last year at Chipola. I'm going to get drafted.
Right.
When he made that decision to really start controlling his own diet, he started putting on pound after pound after pound of good weight. Of good weight.
Yep.
He and he'll tell you he stopped playing he at least shortened his video game hours.
Right.
But he was trading that time for time in the weight room.
Yes.
And when you're spending more time in the weight room and your diet's on point, he added 20 pounds the snap of a finger, and it was good weight.
Yes.
And especially when he started seeing it help him his performance on the field, he really started to realize, okay, so kids, it's the diet part of it is so important because no one really thinks about it.
Structure and routine is huge. Just like you saying, he changed the video game to more of a working out. I'm not saying our guys always like it, but every morning they're getting up and getting their lift in and getting their studies done. And so, that consistent structure, you're going to kind of form that even when you leave, whether you get drafted or going to college, you might be on a different schedule, but your body's used to that and you kind of crave that. And once that happens, you really start to see yourself evolve. So the academy side is very different. It's hard. A lot of these guys leave their families. They're from all over the world. We've had them from Sweden, Africa, South Africa, you name it, Dominican, obviously all the Latinos from Idaho, every state. It's very different, but they leave their families to grow not just as a baseball player, but as an individual. Mm-hmm. And it's a good buffer before you do go to that next level, no pun intended, to really get a feel for what it's like, and to still have a structured environment, have a curfew, make sure the rooms are clean. It kind of gets you prepared for that next jump.
Right. We're going to end on one thing. I want to know the wildest recruiting story you have.
I've had some crazy ones. Okay, this is a tough one, and I'm sure he won't care me sharing it. Davis Daniel. Mm-hmm. I think you know him. He's in AAA now with the Angels. He's a step away. He should make it soon. We were in Fort Myers. I want to say he was 17 years old, fall. He threw really well in a game, faced Bo Bichette, a bunch of guys in the big leagues now, struck everybody out. He was phenomenal. There was about 20, 30 coaches there watching. There was more coaches than I'd seen in a long time. And our team was good, but they were there for the other team because there was a bunch of first-rounders and big-time guys. Well, once Davis carved through that lineup, immediately he could hardly, when the game was over, he could hardly get out of the dugout. We're back at the condos, hotels. He's getting calls left and right. I'm telling him, wow, this is awesome. You're on the map now. You're going to have some really good offers. Let's take these down, digest it. He gets called from a school, NC State at the time. They pretty much tell him, hey, we really like you. This is what we're going to offer. You got 15 minutes to decide. He calls me immediately. I just got a great offer from NC State. This is what I want to do. I said, awesome, put it down. Let's add it to the list. He said, well, I have 15 minutes. I said, no, take it off the list. This is no-go. This is not enough time. I said, you're still a baby. You're growing. You're getting stronger. He's like, I really like this place. I'm like, I like it too. But let's make sure this is right. Well, he's like, you're right. I'm going to tell my dad that's what we're going to do. Hangs up. Good. I'm getting texts, hey, tell me about Davis. I got Baylor, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Alabama, LSU. And I'm getting all these texts. He calls me about 10 minutes later. Okay, I did it. I'm like, good. All right, was he mad? He's like, no, he was pumped. I was like, what do you mean he was pumped? Well, I committed. I said, you did what? And I'm thinking, God, you had 15 minutes to decide. And, ultimately ended up switching over and changing it up a little bit. And, but for me, that was one of the craziest ones. I had never experienced a 15-minute window. I had seen a couple days or think on it for a little bit of time, but 15, which honestly was a very good strategic play. Knowing that guy was taking off.
15 minutes, though. I get that, but that's not what's best for the kid, though.
Right? At the time, as a coach, you're thinking you are what's best for the kid. And the coach is pretty good. He's actually one of the best pitching coaches in the country. So it might have been a good choice, but at the end of the day, that was
But he didn't go to NC State. So what happened? So he decommitted?
He ended up decommitting. Obviously he kept improving, kept getting stronger. Once he got all those offers and that happened, he started working out twice as hard, showing up with me at 5 a.m. in the morning, freezing cold, just evolved. Got up to 94, 95. So long story short, those other schools come calling. You got a school in your backyard, kind of peeking around, showing up to some games, and one thing kind of led to another.
I bet the coach was not pumped.
They were not
when he.
But hey, it's a
15 minutes
out there.
Well, that really is a business.
It is.
Here's an offer. You have 15 minutes.
There's some
Here's my money
rules, but at the end of the day, money talks, and that's how.
Well, I think it worked out for him though.
It did. He's
Big
doing
time.
Good.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So, Tyler, man, we really do appreciate it.
Awesome, man.
Hey, guys, thanks for joining us again on the Behind the Game podcast powered by Triton. We look forward to seeing you next time. We'll have some cool topics to talk about, and please like, share, follow, all that good stuff, and talk to you soon.